The words we just heard are the last words Jesus speaks to his friends as a group while he's alive. Did you know that? 4 chapters ago, we started the Last Supper. For 4 chapters, Jesus has been hanging out with his friends in a room, having dinner, washing their feet, telling them about a bunch of things that are going to happen. 4 chapters. It's a long dinner. Do you know what Jesus does immediately after this? He gets up, he takes his disciples, and they go to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus says, watch for a little while, I'm going to go pray, I'll be back. And then he's arrested. These are the last words. These are the final will and testament of Jesus Christ. And I find it endearing, and I find it beautiful that Jesus doesn't spend them lamenting that he's about to die, but rather asks God to protect his friends. That's the kind of God I want to believe in. That's the kind of man I want to follow. I want to follow Jesus Christ because in his hour of suffering, he chose to say, protect them, be with them. They know all I can teach them. They know it. They've lived by it. You protected me. Now do them the same honor so that they can go out into the world that hates them and still do my work. It's beautiful. Jesus took these people as nascent believers. They were kind of too young in faith to really know anything, right? I mean, a fisherman has a lot of worldly knowledge, but if you ask them to theologically kind of bloviate over things, you're probably going to get punched in the face. Fishermen don't have a whole lot of time for that. Tax collectors, they know math pretty well. Math is hard. They're really good at it. But if you ask a tax collector to teach you a Bible study, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be able to off the top of their head. Jesus taught Matthew to do that. Jesus taught people how to do things and then relied upon them to carry on the work. Jesus didn't jump in the middle of everybody after he died and say, okay, I'm ready to lead again, did he? Did Jesus come back? Oh God, please tell me you believe Jesus came back. Whew, the last 7 weeks of my life just flashed before my eyes. Okay, if you were wondering, Jesus did come back. And Jesus shows up as a spirit among them. Jesus continues to teach a little bit, but they do the work, right? They do the work. They get another disciple because, 12 is a good number and 11's not for some reason. They need another one. They keep going out. And Peter goes out and he raises people from the dead and he preaches in places where he's not welcome. Did Jesus ever raise anybody from the dead? A couple people, right? Peter did that. I said this last week. Matthew writes a book with all the law in it for the Jews. Did Jesus teach the Jews anything? Yes. John, even though he repeats himself often and is very confusing sometimes, I feel like he's a Beatles song. I am he and he is me and we are the walrus. I don't understand half of the things John says sometimes, but John often repeats himself. Did Jesus ever repeat himself? Yes. If it were not the case, we wouldn't have got it. I mean, your parents, a lot of you, right? Have you ever had to repeat anything to your kids before? No, never, right? Your kids are perfect. I mean, I know you haven't ever had to repeat anything. Jesus. That's more of a prayer for my mom. Yeah. Kids, we're not dumb. Y'all aren't dumb by any stretch of the imagination. But stubbornness is a virtue that only teenagers possess. That's incorrect. But we get to this thing where we start to think we know a lot about life, and we do. You have life experiences. You swim in waters I don't understand. With technology and the Facebooks and the interwebs and things like that, I don't get it. And it's hard to be a teenager these days. It's hard. They live in a world where everything they do and see and touch is everywhere all at once. Man, if we said something stupid in 1985, it just kind of happened. And we were like, oh, well, nobody's going to know about that. Right? But we raise our kids to the best of our ability. Right? And I say we, you all know I'm not a parent, but you also know that this church cares for its children, does it not? It believes, for those of you visiting, we do. I just want to put that out there. We love our kids. We love to watch them grow. Maybe they could do it a little less quickly. When I first got here 7 years ago, I'd like to tell you about this church. And I tell you because I believe stories are important, right? Jesus told his story over and over again so his disciples would know what to say, but we need to tell our story because there's some new folks in the room and they need to know where we came from. There are about 30 folks here when I got here. Now, I'm not saying I'm the reason that we got here. Please do not get me twisted. The community is the reason we got here. How many kids do you think we had when I arrived? 2. 2 attending. Kayla and Kennedy. Kayla was about this tall, smiled all the time, had curly hair, and was just happy to be here. Kennedy looked at me and said, I don't trust you yet, but I will one day. And I love her for it. They were the only 2 we had. Thank you. You gave hope. Kayla became an acolyte, and she stood up and she started saying all the things that she believed by virtue of the Nicene Creed. She was going to preach first, but I elected to do it first because I want her words to be the last ones you hear. She's a senior. She's graduating. In 7 years, we protected her. We taught her. We loved her. We thank God for Mama, Carrie, doing the impossible in an impossible age. Our grandparents. Because like Jesus, we want our beloved to be protected before we send them out into the world to do stuff. I have no doubt in my mind that Kayla will go out and talk about her life in the church. Talk about the community that helped her, that loved her. Talk about a God who, to quote one of my favorite preachers, is relentless in his grace, who chased after. A God who never gave up. A God who never gave up on a church who never gave up. And because this church didn't give up, look around you. Does this look like 30 people? Yesterday we had 200 people here from different churches and different faith backgrounds, all in one place, listening to music, eating food, and doing so for free because church shouldn't cost. Church should be free, just like the grace that it conveys through the mouth and hands of Jesus Christ. Yesterday we had all these people, and it was interesting because yesterday was church to me. Yesterday was church to me. Yesterday was when a bunch of folks got together with their kids who were on the largest bouncy house I have ever seen in my entire life. There will be pictures online if you doubt me. But all these kids were together, and they didn't know all each other. But our kids got a hold of a golf cart, didn't get off of it, and took the new kids around and showed them the church and just let them have fun. If that's not perpetuating faith, I don't know what is. New kids came to the church, and these kids were like, you know what? You're our new friends. You now belong to us. You are in our gang of Christian children. We have a golf cart. Let's roll. And I remember watching yesterday and seeing so many kids, and that's what brings me back to coming in those first days and seeing 2. What you've meant to this place is undeniable. Kids show life, don't they? They give us a sense of vitality. If you've got kids in your congregation, it means you've got families who are willing to bring them and still spread the message of God. That's what Jesus wanted from his disciples. And so by doing so, you are disciples. I don't care how small or how big we get. What I care most about is who we are. We're disciples of Christ. First and foremost, we're not Episcopalians, we're not Lutherans, we're not Baptists, we're not Catholics. We are children of a God who loves us and gave everything for us to protect us from evil. And we believe that. And it shows because our kids, without even having to be asked yesterday, included a whole bunch of others in their midst. If that's not evangelism, I don't know what is. As you go out into the world, you're going to make it better. I know you. Greatness isn't defined by what we do in life. It's defined by who we are. What makes you great is already in you. So no matter what you do from now on, you've been made great from the love of a community through the love of Christ. And that has just made you beautiful. And I'm proud of you. And you're staying in the city, so I hope to see you again soon. Church will still be open on Sundays, even though you'll try to sleep in. Be the one miracle 18-year-old that comes to church every Sunday. It's true. I don't care if you like it or not. But in all seriousness, God protects us. Jesus says a prayer for us because Jesus' grace is, like I said, unrelenting. That grace follows us through the world. And if we can impart that upon each other and to our kids, they'll remember it and they'll continue that cycle as it goes over and over and over. On this Mother's Day, thanks for bringing your kids here that may not have been here before, for showing them a glimpse of what a community can look like that isn't all doom and gloom, but that says we love you, we accept you because God accepts us. Maybe we can change the world bit by bit through people like Kayla.